Okay, let's take a quick look at basic essay structure. And this is the famous five paragraph essay structure that some of you may have encountered before. Now, in this video, I will briefly explain that basic structure. Then you should go on and watch Ariel's video, which covers the same topic. And just make sure you watch both of these videos before you read my essay about video games, because you'll want to have the ideas I'm going to talk about in this video, you'll want to have them in the back of your mind when you're looking over my essay for, tips and tricks as to how to write your essay. All right, so let's take a look at this graphic. The five paragraph essay would be the intro, the downward facing triangle here, usually 3 paragraphs of evidence, and then the conclusion, the upward facing triangle that finishes it. Now, as you'll see, you can have more than just 3 paragraphs of evidence. That this 5 paragraph total idea it's really just a guideline, and you don't want to have less than 3. Right? Because 1 or 2 paragraphs of evidence for a thesis sentence is pretty flimsy. We can all sort of intuitively sense that that's not quite enough, right? But having more than 3 is fine. If you want to go over the required 3 paragraphs of evidence, that's fine. If you find yourself, with 5 points of evidence that really support your thesis, go for it. If you find yourself going over the 1,000-word requirement, go for it. And you'll notice my sample essay is longer than the ones we're going to, that I'm going to have you write in this class. And it has, I don't know, maybe 9 or 10 paragraphs of evidence, which is, more than you need. I just wanted to, in a sense, provide you an example that has a lot of different techniques to draw from. So your essay does not need to be as long as mine. It does not need to have as many points of evidence. And it's really there to be sort of a longer work that has the structure you want to have in a longer form and shows you different options for how you can, structure your own essay and structure your own paragraphs. Okay, so first paragraph, the intro. This should be introducing your topic, and at the end of it, you should have your thesis sentence. Now, it's not a hard and fast rule that your first paragraph has to end in the thesis sentence, but if you're looking for, rules about what to do in an essay, this is a pretty good rule to follow. So, you would explain what your topic is, introduce it to the reader, and then at the end of that first paragraph, you have your thesis sentence, and you'll want to underline it when you hand in your essay. And you'll notice in my sample essay about video games, I've underlined my thesis sentence. This sort of helps me be sure that you have a thesis sentence from the moment I look at your essay. So this is really important for me, and just remember to do it. Okay, so you have your thesis sentence at the end of this first paragraph. Then we go on to the paragraphs of evidence. So you'll want to, dedicate each good argument that you have, each point of evidence, as I've been calling it, you want to give a good paragraph of explaining to. Does that make sense? So if you have a statistic that really proves your thesis sentence well, that statistic will be the focus of one paragraph of evidence. Now, you'll have other sentences in there as well, but you want to make sure that the basic idea of the point of evidence is being clearly explained to the reader. Now, you'll see when you watch Ariel's video, she goes into more detail about how to structure a paragraph. She talks about the topic sentence, which some of you may have studied at various points in school. I'm not requiring that you write your essay that way. The topic sentence is basically, you could almost think of it as a mini thesis sentence for the paragraph. In other words, it's the main idea of the paragraph in one sentence. And, it's not a bad thing to think about with each paragraph of your essay. What is my main idea here? What's my main point of evidence? And is that being made clear to the reader? So back to the graphic, you want to see that you have at least 3 of those, solid individual paragraphs of evidence. If you want, you can have more. That's the kind of ghost box I have there with more evidence in it. If you have 4, that's fine. If you have 5, that's fine. Keep going. Like I said before, if you have each paragraph of evidence adds something to your argument, right? So if you have 5 good pieces of evidence, have 5 paragraphs here in the middle of the essay. And then we get to the conclusion. So the conclusion is where you sort of broaden back out the topic for the reader, and a good guideline as to where you want your conclusion to go is to ask this question, so what, that you'll see Arielle asked in her video. The idea is you, the writer, could ask yourself, so what? Why have I written this essay? And if you can answer that question for yourself, if you have an answer as to why you wrote it, that might be a good concluding paragraph to kind of flesh out that idea of why you wrote it. And then in the same way, you can think if your reader is asking you, so what? Why have I just read this essay? This conclusion is a place where you can prove to your reader that it was worth it to write or to read this essay, if that makes sense. So you've given your thesis sentence, you've given your points of evidence, and then you kind of wrap it up by explaining why it was important to have read this essay, if that makes sense. Okay,